Hi guys, and welcome to the Take 3 Reactors Summit. This week we're obviously going over nothing. There's nothing that happened this week, just that Team Trek World's Finest match. It was pretty good. Oh wait, yeah, and the free-for-all. So it's going to be a busy day. So we've got a big panel for you. We can't wait to get into the free-for-all and talk about that. And we're happy to be able to talk about it with a great panel. So let's go. All right, guys, and thanks for joining us for the Take 3 Reactor Summit. Like I said, we have a crazy panel and lots of people, and we're going to get right into it. We're not going to waste any time, but let's go through who we have in our panel. We have, of course, Chris Clark, the Clarkiest of the Clarks. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. This is a massive, massive panel. I apologize. This is awesome. I cannot wait to go through a free-for-all with pretty much the whole of MTS right now. This is going to be amazing. Let's rock this, Kristen. I said this last night, and I'll say it again. Let's rock this stuff.
Yeah, let's rock this. You've never said that before. Matt Kearns, of course, our very own Kearns. How's it going?
It's going good. I never thought, the Schmoedown is amazing at how quiet some Friday matches can be. I mean, I guess because Tuesday's match was so amazing that they gave us a real lowdown on Friday, which I think the summit should be, quick, probably like 20 minutes, guys, I assume, right?
Sure. How long was last week's?
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, I apologize for my roommate when he does the fancy update.
2 hours and 41 minutes.
Thank you, Abe, the editor. All right. Joining us also is actually Abe, who's here to talk about the free-for-all.
I'm not here. Right? I'm just here just to see what I have to edit.
You're not going to talk about the free-for-all at all?
No.
Oh, well, then you can edit this out.
You just made more work for yourself, Abe.
You're in my list, so I might go to you at some point. Matt, no, not Matt. Malcolm. How's it going, Malcolm? We also have him. He's always here, as always, usual.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Just can't wait to talk about the massive bloodbath that was a free-for-all. So, yeah.
Yes, it was something like a bloodbath. We're also joined by a lot of guests. So Henry is here with us. It's been a while since we've seen you on the channel. How's it going?
I'm doing well. I was brought on for a very fun one and a lot to talk about, and I can't wait for that.
Absolutely. And we also have joining us a new guest. We have Chance, who's joining us. I hear you were at a specific event that happened over the weekend.
Yeah, I may have been at a certain event in a certain city that it gets super, but yeah, it was super fun, and I can't wait to talk about free-for-all and all that good stuff.
Definitely. And it's real cool that you were at that live event. That's like, I saw all the pictures and stuff. I'm super jealous. We also have joining us Mike. How's it going?
Going good. Happy to be here. Can't wait to talk about the free-for-all.
Definitely. I think that goes for all of us. And we also have joining us again after we've only had like a week off, maybe 2 weeks. But we also have Cody back with us again for the summit. He's not excited about the free-for-all, so that'll be good. Right?
Yeah. It was kind of a boring event. I really wanted Jason Inman, and then apparently he didn't want to make an appearance. Absolutely loved the free for all. It's my favorite. It's my favorite event they put on. It's so random. So it was a great event. I can't wait to talk about it.
Perfect. Now we do have one thing that happened during the week that is not the free for all, and I know free-for-all week, there's only one thing that people care about. But we do have this Team Trek versus the World Finest match to talk about. And, it was, as matches go, maybe not the best showing for Team Trek. Definitely not the best showing for Team Trek. But it was still actually a pretty good match. And it did show that the World's Finest is going to be a team to look forward to the next time they have a match. I think that they're finding a good rhythm in the game, and they're really coming out and being, some people who could turn into top competitors in this league. But outside of the match, this match was full of future storylines and future match potential and people calling other people out. Like there's like 10 like check marks to do about storylines. And so it's even if you didn't like the match, this thing is chock full of amazing story. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk real quick about the match, but we're going to focus a lot on these additional items as well. So between the match, we also have that intro, which was between McWeeny and Thad. Now, McWeeny is obviously upset that he didn't get that match between the winner of JTE and Roca, and so he's a little upset about the fact that Roca will be taking on Snyder next, so we'll see what comes out of that. We also have Donica coming in and interrupting the post-match interviews between Mantzman and Jason Inman, and Inman does not look at all impressed with Donica. We also had another interruption of that post-match interview when Bateman just shows up. I'm pretty sure he lives in a closet at that studio at this point. Him and Tom probably share that same closet. But you have Mance and Bateman who are now actually going to go and have a match. So I think that that's pretty interesting, but we'll get into that. And finally, we have that last cutscene between Snyder and Roca, and this is just really getting us hyped for that next match that comes out between them and kind of forwarding their storyline together and making sure that's kind of paced well so we don't forget about it, although who can forget about that? But we're going to get right into this, so we're going to shoot it over to our guest Chance first. What did you think about this match, and which one of these storylines is something that like is really catching your attention?
Well, overall, I enjoyed the match. It was a midweek sort of a team thing. As far as the storylines, I will say the one that had me most because he's the only player who could probably scare his way into a match. Like if he busted in my door right now, I'd be like hiding under my bed. And I'm also really interested with the story between Bateman and Inman that now has evolved into this Scott Manson a match. And that's going to be really interesting. Really there, and I can't wait.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you. There's a lot of really interesting stuff coming out of those storylines. Let's shoot it over to Malcolm. What did you think about the match and all of the storyline goodness that happened?
Yeah, I mean, the match itself was pretty much standard close match. I mean, it was kind of what was expected with those two teams. But I mean, the storyline which probably has got me most harmed is probably the McWeeny thing, because in that pre-match promo, he was showing a little bit shades of possibly Marco maybe a heel turn, which I don't want to happen. But I mean, he was definitely showing that upset heel angriness that could happen later on. And I mean, Scott Mantzman Bateman will probably be a fun match with a lot of screaming, yelling, and whatnot. And I mean, the other two is like pretty much further matches, which we already know about anyway. So
yeah, I think that your point about lots of screaming is definitely what's going to happen in that match. It's going to be the loudest match they've ever recorded, and that probably includes the live match. All right, so we're going to shoot it over to Mike. What did you think about this one and those storylines?
I really enjoyed this match. I felt bad for Trek. I really wish that they would have got it, but both finals did impress me. And then for storyline wise, McWeeny, I love that. McWeeny is very menacing. He doesn't seem like it when you see him in his matches, but that really, he showed something there. And of course, I'm always excited to see Mance compete in a singles match.
Yeah, the thing about McWeeny is he's very tall. So if someone who's very tall walks in and just folds their arms and looks down at you, like that is like one of the most like just scary things that anyone can do. So he's a perfectly nice guy in real life, but man, he can be scary as crap. So Henry, what did you think about this one? And let us know what you thought about the storylines as well.
I was really impressed by the world's finest. I knew in their first match that they had some potential, but coming up against some veterans in Team Trek was really, really impressive, especially when it went down to the wire like that. And honestly, I don't even think Team Trek or Mance himself beat themselves. It was actually world's finest deserved the win, and that's what was really most impressive. Because sometimes when you see Trek, they lose on their own because of Mance just shouting out things. But for the most part, it was pretty controlled. So I'm glad to see what's going to happen with them in the future. And then storyline-wise, my biggest thing is obviously Team Action and Bateman just, again, wanting to be more like Roca and now getting himself a match with Mance. First Roca himself, and now he's like specifically going with Mance. So it's like everything that Roca does, they're right behind him. Heel turns, actually talking with Roca, Andrew Guy being Roca being Guy's daddy. Like it's just everything Roca. So
I'm glad someone brought it up that this is turning into like just a mini Roca situation. If Bateman and Mance decide to have a feud, man, that is hilarious to me. How their storylines are really mimicking each other. That's hilarious. I'm glad you brought that up. Matt, you look a little skeptical about that, and I'm sure you had nothing to say about Ben Bateman's interview crash. So we'll just skip you and go to Chris. No, we'll go to Matt. Sorry.
Listen, the match was world's finest. Kind of, they established themselves as not being one-trick pony is the wrong term, but like they're a team to look out for. Trek, for a team that hasn't competed in a while, they did pretty good. We've seen other teams come back and not perform so well. The first round was really their only problem, which is what it is. Overall, the match was fine, but it's of course storylines. I think Drew McWeeny, the opening with Dad, I think that's interesting. I wonder who this is going to build to. Who is he going to compete against? Snyder, Roca. That post-match interview is just getting me more excited for that match. That is, I've wanted to see that match since Snyder called out Roca at Spectacular 1 for a singles match. It sucks it's taken us 2 years to get it, but you know what? The build-up. But of course, Scott Mance versus Ben Bateman is going to be a loud match. It's going to be a crazy match. It's going to be insane. And I also just wonder if it's like, what's with this freaking mini Roca crap we're talking about? What is this? Where's the freaking belt? We're like, Roca's little baby down here. We're up here, okay? New school, old school. Why would we want to be old school? I don't know.
Because the old school teams have the belts.
Excuse me. We talk about Roca. Boy never retained a belt ever. He only won them and then immediately lost them. Why would we want to be like him?
At least he's had one.
All right.
I don't think that Ben and Andrew even know what a belt really means. I think they're just saying where's the belts because they legit just want to know the definition of a belt. So if someone could help them and like maybe send them what belt means, maybe then they'll.
You know what? Okay, that's how it's going to be. I thought the hosts of the Reactor Summit would be a little bit, less butt kissy to John Roca, but I guess okay. Right. You do you.
No one knows. I am a fan of Top 10.
No one knows.
No one knows.
I'm sorry to everyone watching that I just revealed that. Kristen is apparently a top 10. I apologize.
Yeah. So I agree with you though. I think that Snyder Roca match is like something I cannot wait for. Besides the fact that these guys just like they know how to get at each other better than anyone else I think on the planet.
Can I also say I think there's like actual heat boiling. Like I think that kayfabe, there's a little bit like it's gonna be interesting getting them in a match together. Also, I'm just imagining once we get Tom involved in this, what that's going to look like. Once we get Tom and Nost involved in this. Like I actually can just a suggestion to Fat and Christian, along with Snyder and Roca doing these post-credit stuff in the lead-up to the match, get Dagnito and Nost in one, because Nost is, of course, Nost is going to be the hype man, and also the fact that like Nose is going to be playing Knapsack. Like, just I love Matt Nose and Tom Daniel are two of the best on mic. I just want to see them go against each other, just in a post-credit video.
That would be pretty funny. I'm looking forward to all that smack talk. But we do have one more person to talk to about this match. Chris, what did you think about this one? Were there any storylines that really caught your attention here?
Well, look, let me go to the match first and get on my camera because look, this is actually really, really important. I feel like the match itself, like World's Finest, people have kind of underestimated. I feel like their debut, we cannot kind of shovel under the rug that the first two matches they have really outdone a lot of the newer competitors that have come in. So their job during this match was fantastic. I feel like Trek, it sucks that they kind of fumbled a little bit, but that's only because this is another case of a veteran team kind of having too much of a break and falling apart. We saw that with MODOK. So I feel like if you're gonna put these, I don't think you should necessarily judge Trek's performance just yet, just because I feel like Mance hasn't been in it that much. He had a long break. So the match itself, I feel like even from the start, World's Finest had the advantage, and it showed, and they took full advantage of that advantage that they had. What I'm going to say about the cutscenes is I'm focusing more on the Drew McQueenie thing because he's called the Godfather for a reason, and it's great to see that he is actually enveloping the whole mafioso persona. He actually feels like he is now becoming the Wilson Fisk of the movie Trivia Schmoedown, which he should. He has all the rights to. He's a winner. His team is one of the best, objectively. So it's great to see that coming down the line. In terms of the Jeff Snyder and Roca scene, the cinematography was beautiful. It was so beautiful. The thirds that they had was great. The framing of all the shots were fantastic. And it just shows how much quality the Schmoedown is bringing up with all of this stuff. And Christian wasn't lying when he told us on the rundown that he was going to envelop all of these stories after the newcomers were all introduced, and I can't wait to see where this goes. The Trek match was fantastic with World's Finest. The storyline is fantastic. This week just got a lot of meat was in this week, and it was a delicious feast.
A lot of meat happened. A lot of, as Chris would say. So the only thing I want to say about that match is that it's one of those weird matches where the team with the higher accuracy ends up losing. And to me, a lot of that comes down to the fact that Mance just really hasn't played in a long time. And he came in and like the first 3 questions he answered, he was it felt like he was in a completely different planet. And then once he kind of settled in, then he was actually really good until round 2. And then I don't know what the heck happened in round 2. But if they had had a more solid round 2, this match would have been a completely different thing. But I hope that he gets back in his groove because Mance can be a really good competitor. If he does not get back in his groove, this match versus Bateman is going to be really, really interesting. As for storylines, Danica versus Inman, like they had been going at it all over the place since Danica's first match on Twitter, on Facebook, in the post credit scenes, like all over the place. These guys are like hungry to fight each other. I cannot wait for this match. I very highly doubt Danica will win the match, but I just love seeing Inman so confident. And it makes me really excited to watch him play in this next match because I think that I've never seen him more confident walking into a match.
Can I just piggyback off of that for a second? That like kind of like what I was talking about Roka Snyder. The build-up for this title match for Energeekdom, I'm not sure if Harloff was telling them to do this, and I don't think it was, but like what Inman and Danica have been doing like since Danica's first match, this is why this is going to be an amazing like title match. Because it's like Danica is the rookie who's trash talking the proven champ, and the champ's just not taking it. And it's gonna be like, okay, is Inman gonna? I think Inman's gonna. I talked about that on the summit already, but I think he's gonna win. But still, like, I can't wait. This is like my most anticipated title match Sure, it's the only one we have scheduled, but I mean, still.
I wouldn't say it's my most anticipated title match because I think there are ones coming up in the near future.
Okay, but we don't know.
Above the line versus
critically
that's
acclaimed.
right. That's a
I think that's going to be a big one. So
Probably not.
okay. I retract my statement. This is my second most anticipated title because I'm not talking about singles. You guys already got me on the summit.
Yeah. All right. So we are going to move on to the free-for-all because this thing is going to be a monster to talk about. We're going to start this one off just talking about our favorite moments of the free-for-all. So this can be anything from entrances to people getting points right to whatever. It can be anything. Post-credit scenes, interviews, I don't care. You can see none of me in that video, but you can see my husband's elbow at one point. So that's my favorite moment. So we're going to hit it off with Cody since we missed him for the first match. So Cody, what were your favorite moments of the free-for-all that you got to watch this weekend?
Favorite moments. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot of people's, or at least they're going to mention it. The Dan Murrell swerve was the best thing I've seen. I've watched your guys' reaction to it and watched Henry and Robert and Sandy lose their mind over it. And for Andrew Guy to walk out and just sell that fact that he is such a D-bag pretty much and just rub it in everyone's face. There was no one that could have pulled that off. I don't even think Ben could have pulled that off as well as Andrew Guy. So that was by far my favorite moment. I'm not a Team Action fan either, but Ben Bateman is growing on me just because of his heel persona. And, of course, Clark's not the only Bibiani fan in the room. I absolutely loved what he did. I thought he killed it. It kind of stinks that it ended, with the highest score, but he killed it. So those are definitely my 3 takeaways right off the bat.
Yeah, I think that's great that Ben, I don't want to say he's growing on me, but I get where you're coming from. He's a really good guy to hate. Let's just put it that way. We're gonna go over and talk to Mike. What did you think about the free-for-all? What were your favorite moments?
I love the free-for-all. One of my favorite moments was Lon from the beginning, going as many rounds as he did. He really, really impressed me with that. And then Bibiani, I've underestimated Bibiani. I know he's a good player, and he actually he showed up to play, and he almost lasted all the way to the end. And then one of the saddest moments to me was Roca being taken out. I really wanted Roca to take it, and unfortunately, he had to get taken out there.
Yeah, that was no fun for me either. I was highly disappointed with that, but it happens. We're going to talk to Chris. What did you think about the free-for-all? What were your favorite moments? And let us know all that stuff that you got to watch. And you were there live, so your favorite moments might be very different from everyone else's.
I have a ton of favorite moments. All include certain 3 people. So let me go down the order. So
me, Matt, John.
Yeah, me, Matt, and John. And John is amazing. I mean, we're gonna have.
Okay.
Oh wait, and I forgot Matt. But yeah, but let me say this: that we are gonna be we released a video documenting our experience. It was fantastic, but the actual match itself, my favorite moments were when Whitney came out. Obviously, I was cheering him on. If you listen into the video, if you listen closely, you can hear me scream almost the entire time he's on there. I was a little valley girl, and it was amazing. But he was awesome. It was awesome to see the Potato and Mrs. Potato Head. Kind of that's basically who Finstock is. So essentially, that whole moment was fantastic. When Robert Meyer Burnett got knocked out, he only got one question right. The Potato came over to me and said, "Hey," and he laughed at me and he ran away. We have it on videotape. That was fantastic. It's not on the actual tape itself, but he came and he laughed at me and he ran backstage. It was awesome. But then also, I have to talk about Bibiani because this is the elephant in the room. This is what you get when you underestimate a monster. You get eaten by the monster and you see how good the monster can thrive. I don't want to repeat myself because I said this last night on the rundown, but you got to look at it this way. Bibiani knows his stuff. He might not always win, but this is just pure proof that he might be, and I think is, solidified as one of the Mount Rushmores of the Schmoedown for lasting 2.5 hours like he did. That's unprecedented. And I think he probably has more knowledge than anybody in the league. He really, really does. And I would like somebody to argue with me that point. But until somebody can say, hey, they can stay in the ring for 21 rounds for 2.5 hours, your point is void. So that was also my favorite moment. Any other moments? It was just so much to take in. You had Makuga coming in, riding Dan's ale canister, whatever it's called. What is that called? Is it called a keg? That's it.
A keg?
A keg.
Ale canister?
Someone can have fun in college.
Yeah.
Someone's showing their age.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just an amazing event, and it just took a lot out of you and your voice when you were there in person. Like Jen even said to us that she couldn't hear anything that Christian was saying. She had to read his lips because of how loud we were. So the event and atmosphere was just something you cannot duplicate, and it's hard to describe without being there in person. So I am thankful for that event. I'm thankful for that weekend, and it was just a rocking event. And Bibbs showed his stuff, and we're going to talk about Brienne, I'm sure. There's a lot to discuss about Brienne, but the moments themselves, those are the ones that stuck out for me.
Awesome. And Chase, I know that you had a little bit different perspective watching this just because you got to watch it with so many other great fans. So why don't you let us know about your favorite moments, but then also let us know what that live event was like, and how fun was it to just be able to experience it with a group of amazing Schmoedown fans.
Yeah, it's certain. You did say Chase. It's.
I'm sorry. Your name is Chance.
All right, that's fine. All right. All right. Back to the question. So yeah, it's a really interesting feeling. Like at that point, the most people I'd watched the Schmoedown with before that, it was just me and my little brother who I got into it. I never watched it with like a big group like that, and it's electric. It's a great feeling. Everybody's there having a good time. Everyone's laughing and cheering and shouting, shouting out answers. And yeah, it's like it was really fun to experience that with a whole me. As far as my favorite moments of that free for all, I gotta say like someone we haven't brought up yet, Ethan Irwin. That dude came in and he nearly stole the free for all. He went out from under the the nose of a good old Bibiani, Chris. Which hey, look, I can't take anything away from Bibiani, but he had 50. He had 50 good rounds, and he still managed to choke at the last round. How do you do that?
This man off the call now. Get this man off the call right now.
I'm sorry, Chris. I'm running this show, so we're gonna keep him on.
Sigh.
But no, yeah, Bibbs did great. That damn Merle moment, that was dirty though. Like if you watch the party's video, I was ready. I was getting hyped. Really, I was wearing my new Merle t-shirt. I was ready to rip open like Superman and some shit. And then as soon as Andrew Guy comes out, I literally sunk in my chair. I was like, oh come on, that was a dirty trick. That was not fair. But I still like seeing Andrew Guy. I like seeing Ben Bateman, Action Army for life. And yeah, it's a really, really solid event.
Yeah, that Dan Merle moment live was just like there were competitors who literally were like, did they sneak him in the back? Where'd he come from?
Where'd he come from?
Because you see the door, like no one can come into that building without everyone knowing about it. So then when you're just standing there and all of a sudden you hear that and you hear him announce Dan Miller, just like, where did he come? Has he been hiding behind the curtain for 3 hours?
He was hiding in the same closet as Dagnino and Ben Bateman.
Yeah, we literally every single person lost their minds, and the reaction at the table was very authentic. Like Brienne just losing her mind because she thought, well, this is it, we're about to all lose. That was all very authentic. Nobody knew what was going on. We were all under the impression that he was not going to be there that day. So yeah, that was to me that was crazy. But we're gonna shoot it over to Matt what did you think about the free for all? What were your favorite moments of this event?
Yeah, free for all 2 was amazing. I think it, for as great as last year's was, I think it's sort of superseded. That we're just, I mean, the Andrew Guy moment we're talking about right now, that to me is the XX5XX of this year's. It's different, but it's the same thing of like an unexpected moment that was planned probably, but like no one knew it was coming. All react like, I love how you can hear Brienne going like, oh no, I forget exactly what she's saying to the mic, and then just Andrew Guy coming out, flipping everyone off. He's saying he buried Dan Murrell 6 feet under, which is now on his Twitter profile. He has taken out Dan Murrell because Andrew Guy is awesome.
Is it really?
Yep. Yeah, he updated it today. But it was amazing. It was so much fun. It's the one time where I'm like, I did not record that, and I'm upset that I didn't record that. But regardless, other moments, Mike Kalinowski coming out with the Wonder Bread, I thought, like, that was awesome. I love how Mike's able to make fun of the joke that everyone's been making of him as being like vanilla Wonder Bread. Watching Chris Clark watch Whitney and Robert Burnett and Bibs on the table was something to experience. There's literally me video of asking if Clark is okay, and he is not paying attention to me. I'm not sure if it'll be in our video. But I mean, the biggest moment, and I'm not really going to get into it because it's a part of this video we're going to be dropping. But I mean, Wendy Lee Zaney competing, that was just unexpected. And that, okay, yeah, of course, I love Wendy. It was great she was competing, but it's Mark Riley. He came back. And I was there.
And
Who said that?
I wish it was me.
Hey, he got one question right. Good for him.
Henry? You know what, Henry? Speaking for Take 3, and Abe, I apologize for all the bleeping you're going to do. Get the fuck out of here! We don't fucking run here!
I'm gonna cut these.
I won't leave as quick as Riley did in the round.
Oh.
Well, that was fun. All right, so
I'm gonna say I'm gonna leave everything in, so.
You just leave that in.
Abe doesn't ever edit anything out. Come on,
Leave it
guys.
in, Abe. And Henry, you're dead to me.
Perfect.
Just
All
like
right,
Riley
Malcolm.
did in Schmoedown.
Dig the hole. Dig
All
the
right,
hole, sir.
we're gonna break up this lovers quarrel. Malcolm, what did you think about the free for all and your favorite moments of the match that you got to see?
Yeah, I mean, the crazy. I mean, you had a whole lot of big competitors not get a lot of good rounds, and because of the questions set up. And I mean, I have to echo, I can't remember who said it during the match, but does Cameron Diaz sponsor the Schmoedown now? Because there's a whole lot of Cameron Diaz questions in there now.
we're never gonna have some money from that bitch.
Yeah. And I mean, like, as for moments, like Josh McCougar's entrance, Brienne, and even Taylor's entrance, like, they're all just really good. Like Taylor coming out as the Riddler, like, and Josh's keg stand one, where
Wow,
I
Bears!
think it was Roxy and Alice came out to help as well. But yeah, but yeah, no, I mean, like, Bibiani showed that, like, everyone is underestimating him, and that because I mean, he was, like, if you go by how many points they scored throughout the whole thing, he scored about 85 points or something around there. So it's like it completely broke everyone else. Because I mean, like, you had people like Lon Harris come in and stay quite a bit. You'd Frank stay for quite a bit. You had, like, some debuts like Haley Fouch, or I don't know how to pronounce her name. Like, she came in, she almost got a perfect round, but because everyone else got 4 perfect rounds in that, she had to be eliminated. So I would like to see her come back. So overall, there's a whole lot of good debuts returning. So
Definitely, and we'll get into kind of the people we want to see more of from the new players a little bit later. We're gonna shoot it over to Henry, the last person to talk about your favorite moments from the free for all. Let us know what you got.
So at the beginning of our reaction, I one of my predictions, like that weren't like the obvious big names like McWeeny and Roca and stuff. I actually picked Lon, and he came out so early, and that was a bummer because he did really well. And you could just imagine if he would have came out at 20 or, probably 19, he probably would have won it all, because 20 is an unlucky number. So if he would have came out at 19, he probably would have won it all. My favorite entrance was Brienne with the whole Buffy. That was pretty cool. Even though you had the one guy in the background milking it up when she killed him, she was even looked back like, why isn't he dead yet? But that was still fun seeing how that went about. The bait and switch with Guy. I echo Cody. I don't think anyone else could have actively pulled that off and actually made it work. So although I hated it so much, I am impressed. And I agree with what you guys said. Bateman's like a boil on my ass. I hate that he's there, but I'm starting to get used to him. It's working for me, and I can live with it. And I was just impressed by Ethan. I think if he would have had a little more experience and a little more been used to the Schmoedown, he probably would have had that going for him. And like Gene Wilder says to Bibiani, you get nothing, sir. You lose. So it doesn't matter what happens at the end of the day. It's all over for you. You didn't win. So it was fun though.
Yeah, I had a ton of things that I just loved, and this entire match was just amazing all around. Like the production value of it and the people they got to come in, I think all around this thing was just a monster of a match. Like to get 48 people all signed up to do this match, like that's crazy. And to have all 48 of them, like they all did pretty well. There's a couple people who like maybe nerves got the best of them or whatever, but I think everyone kind of showed up to play. Overall, like Brienne winning was such a cool match because no one knew it was coming, honestly. Like I was sitting next to Chris Galiski, and like he was just showing me like the questions that were going to come up next. He was like, oh, this one's coming up next, this will be fun, because they have it all like on a drive so they can all see kind of like what's happening, and then if something needs to happen, like they need to make a quick edit or change something around, they can do that. But like he was just like, oh, this is coming up next, this will be funny. And then all of a sudden the match was over and we were just like, wait, what? So like that was so cool just to have happen because no one was expecting it. Like everyone was kind of at that point, I think we were all expecting Bibbs to run away with this thing. And for Brienne to come in when she did, she got like 14 points in a row or something, or 11, I can't remember, but she got a ton of points in a row. She had a bunch of perfect rounds, and she really, once she stepped into the ring, she controlled that match. And that's what you have to do in these situations. Like no matter when you come in, you control that. You have to control that match, even if you're number one. You are the person that everyone needs to beat. And as soon as Brienne walked out, it was no longer Bibbs people needed to worry about. It was Brienne. And she was like, that is the best I've ever seen her play. I'm super happy for her. I'm like beyond words how happy I am for Brienne to get this opportunity. And it'll be interesting to see what she does with that, especially with that post-credit scene we'll talk about later. But outside of that, I think there was just amazing moments with the crowd, and there were things that we did, like the chanting of the quack was me and Matt who started that, so that was cool. And it got like, seeing stuff live is very different from the replay. So when I got to watch the replay, like I did not realize how much we made Sam laugh at that moment. And I was just like, yes. So that was cool. But it was just really fun. I loved getting to rewatch this thing and like relive moments and see them from a different perspective, because this whole thing was just so well done. And I didn't know how they could beat the first one, but to me, like, this was just amazing. So we're going to move on. And we kind of talked about this a little bit, but the biggest surprises of the match, outside of potentially that Dan Merle switch around, there were a lot of other surprises that happened in the match. And we're going to talk about that right now. So we are going to head over to Malcolm. What was your biggest surprise moment of the match?
Well, I mean, my biggest surprise was probably Mark Riley coming back. I mean, just like everyone else, I thought it was going to be him back for good. But as he said in the post match, like he only came back for the match, and yeah. I mean, the other thing which I didn't have is that like kept on going, eliminating people till there was. Instead, they chose to go with the winner of the final table as the winner all up. So that was also interesting to me that they chose to do it that way as well.
Yeah, and that was how they did it last year. It's just we didn't get to see it because Sam had cleared the table right before the last person came out. But I think that's why everyone was so like, what's going on? Because it was so different from last year's event where we just like, no one was at the table anymore when that last round happened. So definitely, but that was a big shock during the match. So we're going to head over to Matt. What did you think about the surprises that happened during the free-for-all this year?
I thought they were great. You know, there were little surprises I loved, like Barry Levinson with Ken, just his surprise reaction they got there. We're just like, I don't know, Barry Levinson. Oh, really? But the big ones, I mean, already talked about Guy. Brienne, so happy that she won. And yeah, I was sitting next to John, and I remember we were all just like, everyone was just looking around like, wait, what? Because we were conditioned by last year that Sam had cleared the table when Tom came out, and so we're all like, oh, it's gonna go one-on-one, and then it was like, nope, Brienne won. We're all like, oh, yay! Like, there was such, at least for me, there was a delayed reaction, like celebrating, because I was like, wait, this is happening. But the big one is, you know, we're all sitting there, you know, the IRS is breathing down my neck like it's some kind of personal vendetta against Bobby Finstock. I started losing it. Kristen's husband John was sitting next to me. We're both Finstock Tom fans, so we're both going crazy. There's people booing, and he came out. It was amazing. Whatever that shrunken kimono he had on, it was amazing, and I'm so happy that one, Finstock is back, and also the fact that he's not a part of the Lion's Den. He's his own thing, which makes Tom versus Finstock a more likely situation. Call Patreon match. It was that's the big one for me. Besides Riley, of course, was Finstock coming back, and just like everyone immediately knew when that started, and it was just like the mix of booze and excitement from like literally just me and John.
Yeah, you can kind of hear it in the actual match. If you're like listening for it, you can hear like the whole thing going boo, and then just like kind of really softly like, yeah.
Just me and Sean. It's like when Guy comes out, all these boos, and I'm just in the corner going, yeah.
It's always nice to have a fan out in the crowd. Yeah, no, that was really fun when Finstock came out, and I asked him afterwards when we can expect the Tom Finstock match. So we'll see. I hope that comes sometime in the near future, because I would love to see Tom and Finstock just smack talk each other, especially now that they're not in the same faction. Yeah. All right, so we are going to shoot it over to Chance. What was your most surprising moment of the 2018 free-for-all?
Oh, there were a bunch of moments. Like I was surprised that Tom Danino lasted more than round one. I thought he was gonna be the first one out for sure, especially with our Matano at the table. I think my biggest surprise though is they brought back Naveed. Like they are pulling like from deep Schmoedown lore, getting a guy who competed in like the OG like 2014 Schmoedown. Like when I saw him, like, oh shit, that was crazy. And yeah, I think just the fact that they brought him back and the fact to see him compete, I never thought I'd see him back in a Schmoedown related event. To see that, I thought was really cool for the fans.
Definitely. And I loved when they announced him, because a lot of people were like, I don't remember this guy. And they announced him, and it's like, he's from 2014. It's like, oh, shoot, I do remember this guy. It's been a long time. So yeah, no, that was awesome. I'm real glad that they're pulling from some of these original people as well. Cody, what was your most surprising moment of the free-for-all?
Most surprising, when they went to, it was when, I don't know everybody at the table, I've only seen it once, but when Drew and Stacey Howard and Lon and Whitney were there and somebody else, I can't remember who the fifth, and they had to go to the sixth question. And when, Sam, I think it was Sam. And when it was an animated question, I was just like, oh, crap. Here we go. We're losing somebody. And that's the first time. I was wondering if they were going to go with just the butt as in Finding Nemo, but they actually went with boat. But I was like, yeah, that was surprising when Stacey, because that was like the second biggest clear, I thought, besides when Cushing and McWeeny left on the same question. Like, that's just, whoa, those are two heavy hitters that just walked away. So I thought Stacey really came to play. So I thought that was a cool surprise.
Yeah, that was actually one of my surprises of the match, was just how good Stacey was, because she really did show up. And I don't know if she was just lucky with the questions she got, but there were some things she was asked that I was surprised she had the answer to.
And she just came confident. Like, she was just like, as soon as it cleared, it was no big deal. It was like, let's move on. I was like, okay, she's here to play.
Yeah, I that was a pleasant surprise for me. I thought she just did fantastic. So you stole mine. I'll have to think of another one. So, Henry, what was your most surprising moment of the free-for-all?
I don't know. The grid? What? I got it right? What? Wild berries! That was hilarious. Seeing Makuga just running her off the table twice when he got a question right, just being just Makuga and selling t-shirts. That's so much fun. But one of my biggest surprises was seeing people that didn't do as well as they would have, and it's just because that just shows what the free-for-all can bring. Like, it's random, you get questions, and as you never know if this is true, but there's a bunch of backlog of questions, and like Cameron Diaz and stuff like that, and all those type of questions. So it's like, unfortunately, sometimes you got a lot of those questions, you're not familiar with them, and it just, you got them a bunch, and you got some heavy hitters to lose, or you got some heavy hitters that only got one question on their first time back in a long time. So sometimes that's how it goes, but it's a lot of fun. You also got a lot of people who got questions right that you're surprised they would have, like you guys were talking about with Stacey. And so it just shows that anything can happen, and pretty much did. But I am glad that Dagnito came out second, because we didn't want him to win it and come out last. So that was also a plus.
Yeah, and that's, you brought up a good point with, that's just the point of the free-for-all, is that literally anything can happen. Tom can come out first and Finstock can come out last. Like, that is a legit thing that could have happened. So it's just a crazy event, and one that I would not trade for the world. Chris, what was your most surprising moment of the free-for-all?
I'm sitting in the audience. Bibbs is at the table. And then I hear the captain's music, and I see Robert Meyer Burnett come out, and him and Bibiani sitting at the same table for a Schmoedown. That is probably the most surprising thing I have ever seen. No, I'm just kidding. That wasn't really that surprising. The thing that was surprising, honestly, was actually Brienne. I felt like Brienne winning the actual thing was actually really surprising as an audience member, because I was under the assumption that final table was going to be elimination. And her winning was just so sudden. Like, I don't know if you guys understand how sudden that felt for you. It was even more sudden for us, because we're like, holy crap, this is the end, and Brienne won, and that's fantastic. The fact that she won is just so good, because she gets to hold that over people, and you even see it now that it's so much story potential with this, and everybody's a winner. Bibbs gets his number one contenders. So the ending of the free-for-all was both surprising and the perfect outcome for everybody. So for me, it's just Brienne winning was the most surprising thing for me. I would say Andrew Guy's appearance, Finstock, I would say Riley, but you know what? I want to be different. And I decided I feel like Brienne winning is actually a big surprise, and a heartwarming surprise, because she really deserved it.
Definitely. And
Yeah.
geez, again, stealing one of my surprise moments with that Robert Meyer Burnett Bibbs table, but I'll get there. And hopefully the last person to talk about this topic won't steal all of mine. So Mike, what were your biggest surprises? And if you could try real hard, don't steal my topics, Mike. Don't just like connect with me and don't steal my topics. All right, Mike.
Well, echoing what some of you have said, Riley coming out was a big surprise. Finstock, of course, coming out. But I think one of the biggest surprises to me was the fact that there were no big clearing the table moments like there were last year. There were 2 of them last year, and this one, there were just there was just no clearing the table moments at all. And there were a couple instances where it could have easily have happened. There were, I think, where they were all at 3 with the exception of one of them. And if one of them would have gotten it, they would have all went down. And it seems like I did steal the thing you were going to talk about from your question right now. I apologize for that.
That's okay. That's how you know it's a good panel, when all the things kind of get covered. I've got a list of things that I wanted to make sure we talked about, and they were all pretty much talked about. So that's awesome. I did want to talk a little bit more, like my surprise moments were a lot of them because of who was at the table together. Like almost right off the bat, you had Lion's Den kind of facing off each other because Tom and Ken were at the table together. That was kind of a big deal. You also had a lot of people who like were at the table with other people that had beefs with each other. So you had like JTE at a table full of people who all had like a feud with him at some point. And then you also had that table with Robert Meyer Burnett and Bibbs and John Roca. Like that table has so much history in it. And I think that's something that the Free For All can do really well, is just give you those tables that you're like, oh shoot, this is like a big deal with Roca and Robert Meyer Burnett and Bibbs all at the same table. Like when was the last time they were all together? You know, like that's something that I love about the Free For All, is you can get those kinds of moments. It was just so cool seeing some of that stuff. And then, you know, what everyone else said, there weren't really, you know, table clearing moments. There were a lot of like people who got like 3 people out at once. And there were a couple times where you got 2 really good competitors out at once. Like that moment when Rachel left did she leave with Riley?
No, it was McWhinney.
No, she left with McWhinney, yeah. But like, you know, you get a round that's nearly perfect and then someone has to go. So then you get 2 really good people out at once. And so those were always big surprises. Like I did not expect Rachel to go out when she went out. Did not expect McWhinney to go out when he went out. And those are where a lot of my surprises came from. So I'm just that Free For All, man. So we're gonna move into the next topic, which is our breakout new player of the Schmoedown from the Free For All. There were a lot of choices to pick from, and this is also people who have kind of played in teams but never done singles. You can include that even if they've been playing in teams for years and never done a single match. Feel free to talk about that. But there were a lot of newbies who have maybe only had 1 match this year or never had a singles match ever that really were kind of impressed. So let's throw it around the board. We're going to start this off with Chris. Who was kind of your breakout new player of the Free For All?
Well, I'm going to go with probably the most obvious answer, because you have a lot of the big heavy hitters, but they're not newbies to the singles thing, except for Frank from Box Office Breakdown. I think he stayed in a long time, and that was super, super impressive because admittedly his match wasn't one of the best. His team performance wasn't one of the greatest, but seeing how he kind of lasted 8 rounds. Thank you, Abe. He lasted 8 rounds, and I feel like that was 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 3 rounds shy of Dan Murrell. Put that into perspective. That's what is it?
I thought Dan Murrell lasted 12 rounds.
Yeah, that's 4 rounds shy of Dan Murrell. That's ridiculous for somebody who kind of should have been out like first round theoretically or second round. He exceeded expectations, and I think Frank is the breakout for that. Certainly, I would say Ethan, but Ethan already had a singles match. So yeah,
I would still say he's new enough to be surprising.
Well, I mean, Ethan, yeah, if you're going to put Ethan into the equation, Ethan's the easiest answer. But if you're not going to put Ethan in there, then Frank.
Yeah, I mean, I would include Ethan just because not a lot of people know what to expect from him yet, because there have been plenty of people who have had a really strong showing in their first match and then just fall apart. And I'm not naming names this summit for sure. I'm not naming names this
I know
summit.
who you're referring to.
I don't know who you're talking about. It could be anybody with the name of Bibbs. All right, so we're going to move on to Cody. What was the breakout performance that you noticed from the free-for-all?
Well, mine's going to be a little different because it's not really scoring wise, and I'm slipping on his name right now. He's a part of the league with Mike.
Johnny LaQuasto?
Yeah.
Yes. Because I think he is a perfect, like, he could compete. I'm okay with him competing, especially in Intergeekdom. But I think he could be, like, on that manager aspect. He talks so well on the mic because the beginning of that, like, interview portion when they were with JTE and Jen Sturger, and he was like, "You're taking the mic with you." Like, JT is not that bright of an individual. We all know this. But, like, he is just so good. So I think he could manage a team or be more of a voice piece for, like, Mike and them, and just carry it with him because I think he's got so much charisma out there that he could help create another faction out in the Schmoedown.
Yeah, and I loved during that promo right before the match started that they ended with him.
Yes.
Because he's got camera presence. Like, he's got it. He needs to be in front of the camera more for the Schmoedown.
He needs to teach JTE something how to talk. Like.
Yeah, he was eloquent as shit, man. We're gonna move on. It's accurate though. We're gonna move on. Malcolm, what was your biggest surprise of the free for all? No, biggest breakout performer of the free for all. I got this.
Well, I mean, for me, the breakout performer is probably Jen at the table. I mean, she was amazing at the table, but I mean, like, well, yes, I mean, I can bring up Ethan, who's pretty much when he came out, he pretty much toe to toe with Bibbs, and it would be an interesting match coming out of this. But for me, the breakout star probably I'll have to say her again is Haley. I almost had a perfect round, but because I think she would try another person. So yeah, I think Haley is probably the biggest breakout for me.
Yeah, I agree with you on Haley. I think she was fantastic. And honestly, she was such a big surprise because who knew who she was before she walked on the stage? And then she kind of comes in and just really nails her first entrance. So we're going to shoot it over to Henry. What was your favorite debut new player?
So, like, we've already brought him up. He's not a debut because he had his singles, but Ethan, like, that's just impressive regardless of how far you went, especially when you have Bibiani stealing the entire show. So it's not just like Ethan was doing well by himself, but he was going head-to-head with Bibiani for so long, and I think that that might have either driven him to keep going or that was just added pressure, and it's more impressive. So regardless, it was just fun to see that battle going back to back. And I think Jen brought that up in the post-match that maybe they should consider bringing him on as a faction, and that would be interesting to see. As far as other people, I think, she's a veteran, but the fact that she's finally on her own in singles and she's solidifying that, how well Stacy did, that was really impressive, and she's really starting to shine as a competitor. As far as anyone who's really new, he talked about it earlier, Frank, that was really impressive seeing what he did, and especially going up against Lon, who went even farther than him, so they were going head to head. So I feel like this entire show, anybody who had somebody else at the table like mirroring their performance, that kind of brought them out, or it took them down in a sad situation. So I'll talk about my favorite table later probably, but for just as far as individuals, I feel like those are the best ones, because unfortunately we didn't have any breakouts as far as like massive performances from any new people, but we had a lot of impressive, like, one or two good rounds, or like what Malcolm keeps saying with Haley, like just one round where she went out, but it was an impressive nonetheless. So sometimes it's just the competition you're up against, but you can still shine in a loss technically. So
Definitely. And that's the thing is everyone has a perfect round and you have 4. Like at any other table, 4 probably would have gotten you through to the next round. Chance, what was your take on this? Who was kind of the breakout new player that you saw in the free for all?
Okay, breakout new player a little tough. Someone that I think we haven't talked about yet, as far as like just brand new, and still kind of stretching definition. Someone that's new to singles, and I think Chris might agree with me on this one. Whitney Seibold. Whitney Seibold was in there for a good amount of time. He was in there for a good amount of rounds. He was keeping pace with everybody else, leading the charge for a lot of it. So he did really solid. And someone, as far as like the true breakout performance, is someone who I think he's more of a seasoned vet in Schmoedown, but someone who's had a less than stellar career in Schmoedown who lasted a good amount of time. RB3. RB3 was in there for a good amount of time. He wasn't up against any like any slouches. Like he was, it put in perspective, he was one table away from making the final round. So I was really impressed with that in the free for all.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head because Whitney has never done singles. If you don't count, no, because that horror match was a modified team match. So you win this one. Chris is having a moment, but we'll move on. And yeah, we're gonna head over to Mike. Who was your breakout performance from those new players?
I've already talked about him. I gotta still talk. Ethan. Even though he's already had a single match, he came in there and he was ruling that table. It was him and Bibiani all the way, and I can't wait to see what he does later on in the future because I think he's going to be a heavy hitter.
Definitely, 100%. I cannot express how excited I am to see Ethan compete more because I think this guy is a contender for that singles belt, and he's had one singles match at this point, so he is a guy to be scared of. He's like the new Dan Murrell. Like he is someone like, please, just don't go up against me. Like I don't want to go up against Erwin ever. We're gonna move on to last but not least, Matt. I know we've kind of talked about everyone, but hopefully there is someone on your mind that you can talk about for singles.
I mean, you guys kind of brought up a lot, so I'm just going to talk about he's been pretty well established in teams, but Ben Bateman, he's only had his one match against Dale so far, I think. He performed really well in me, and it gets me excited to see where he's going to go more in singles, and he has, he's got that presence. Like, I love the briefcase. He brought it out again. Like, that's his thing, and, Andrew Guy has never competed in singles. So this was our first time seeing Andrew Guy compete in singles. Maybe it wasn't the greatest showing, but I think he was a little hyped up on the adrenaline of his entrance. So I'm gonna give my man, credit. Once we get him into, the 3-round, the non, free for all way, we'll see how he does. But yeah, so Ben and Drew, it was awesome to see because we've had so many new teams come out and not really single. Like, we're getting more teams, so I like that, like, the teams are established now. It's like, not that they're breaking up, that's the wrong thing, but, like, they're going to singles, and they're kind of showing us how they can perform without the other team member. So that's just exciting for me as an action fan.
Definitely, and I'm glad that you brought up Andrew Guy, because I thought that maybe we'd have another Whitney moment with Clark, but that we didn't, so that's good.
I got you.
The only person we really didn't talk about yet who was on kind of my short list was Sabina Grace, who, she did very well in her first team match, and now we can see that she can hold her own in singles as well because she did last a few rounds and she competed against some harder players. And so it was good to see her come in and just hold her own ground against some of these guys and really play very well. And I can't wait to see, hopefully she does transfer into singles because I think she could do very well. And I really would be interesting to see her progress, not just in teams, but in singles. So we're going to move on. This is like our last discussion topic, but we're going to talk about any items that were kind of disappointing. For me, it's more of just how some of the people left Mark Ellis leaving when he left to me was a little disappointing because it was right after a break, and it's like, oh geez, if he had just barely come in and then there was a break and then started back up, and I don't know if that made him lose his focus or what, but like once he started back up, it just did not feel like he was in it. And I'm so mad. I think he could have gone a lot further in the competition if he had been able to just sit and focus and like actually just answer the questions without getting interrupted. But that's just my perspective of that. But there's a lot of other people who kind of did go out on things that maybe you think they should have gotten, or it was just a tough table to be at. So we're going to hit it over to Mike. What was kind of your like most disappointing moment of the free-for-all?
100% it was Roca getting taken out like he did. I was expecting him to come in there, especially him getting that number. I believe it was in the second half of those numbers that he got. He should have at least made it to the end, and it's so irritating when he gets taken out. I feel so bad. I couldn't go further.
Yeah, and a lot of that is a mental state thing because he got in his head like nobody's business, and he walked onto that table, and all people were talking about was Jane Fonda, and this was filmed relatively close to when that match was aired. And so, man, that really, really got into his headspace. And Roca, he's a very mental player. So if he gets in there, it's game over. So unfortunately for me as well, because he's who I wanted to win the whole thing. So when I found out where he was going to be in that running, I was like, shoot, he's got this. And then that sucked. But, Matt, what was your kind of biggest disappointing moment? I think I kind of already know what it is, but you can still share it.
I'm not going to go with that one. I'm going to go with another one. Unless maybe this is the one it was Kalinowski. There were a lot of one-rounders. Sadly. Mike, I wanted Mike to win. Mind you, this was before that post-credit scene from a couple of matches ago aired, so it was like, I want Mike to have that chance to go for his belt or something. And yeah, that one hurt. And also Ellis and him went out at the same time, both in the same round. So it was double. We came back from that break, and it was, you know what else hurt? My vocal cords hurt after free-for-all.
That's true. You kind of sounded like an old man.
I lost my...
the match,
yeah, if anyone now you know, go and watch some Teak Street videos from a little after March, and you're going to notice not all myself. And that's why. It's because I was shouting so much in free-for-all.
Definitely. So we're going to shoot it over to Henry. What was your biggest disappointment kind of moment of the free-for-all?
So I got two. One was Robert Meyer Burnett missing the rose from Titanic. How did you not do that? That was pretty embarrassing. I've never even seen Titanic, but that's just pop culture. And how do you not know that? Another one was in round one, Robert from Late to the Party going out so quickly because we know how good he is, and especially because he lost to Dagnito. But on the bright side, maybe we could eventually get a singles match from them, and he can just kick Dagnito's ass and embarrass him there. So maybe there's an upside to it. So Robert, if you're watching this, think about that and try and get you a match with Dagnito and hurt his feelings so much to go back into his broom closet. So those are two for me.
Those were both kind of disappointing for me as well. There was a lot of disappointing. It's hard for the free-for-all to not have a lot of disappointing moments for everyone because we all want our favorites to win, and obviously only one person can win. So we're going to shoot it over to Malcolm and let us know just kind of what were some of the moments that got you a little like,
A lot of my was only 2 points. Ayla only gave you a mark. It didn't last as long as well, but most of all, I was disappointed we didn't get a table full of people whose first name was Mark. Could have had Riley and Draco all at the together.
Yeah,
That's good.
I think that's fair. I think the table setup, there were a couple times where I was just like, this table's fine. It's hard because there were some like really powerhouse tables going on, so that when you got one that was just like a little weaker, it felt a lot more like a dynamic shift than it probably should have. We're going to shoot it over to Chance. What was your kind of disappointment moment of the free-for-all?
I was disappointed Bibiana did so well because I wanted to feel Chris's tears. No, I'm kidding. That's not what my moment was. My most disappointing thing about the free-for-all was the lack of Dan Murrell, which I would have been sour on that if they didn't like tee me up for like a major backhand. Like doing that, like as much as I did think that moment was funny, doing that was essentially like telling me, because I'm a huge Dan Murrell fan, it's like telling me like, hey, you want to go watch the new Star Wars right now? I'm like, yeah. Then I go in theater and you start playing Terminator Genesis, and then I hate life. So yeah, that was the moment for me. I was disappointed by. I wanted at least one table clear, and we didn't get that. At least not that I can recall. And also, I was sad that Andraco and Cushing went out so early.
Yeah, definitely. The table clear things, and like I don't have to have a good table clear to make the free for all for me, but
it's at least one.
Just one, because they are like mind-blowing moments when they do happen.
Exactly.
And so
exactly.
it is really cool. There were a couple setups for it to happen, and then they just didn't work out. But you know, it is what it is. You can't force them to happen, but it's still cool when they do happen. So moving on, we're going to talk to Cody. What was your kind of disappointing moment of the free-for-all?
Well, I have kind of two, but one, I was so excited for the disappointment of the Action Army when Andrew Guy got nothing really. So no one ever gets to shut the Action Army's mouth really, but the scoreboard shut his mouth pretty good. So I was excited for that. But my most disappointing was, it's kind of off the wall, but how close Greg from Real Rejects was to winning the free-for-all. If that would have happened, we would be having a totally different conversation today. And I think that would have been fantastic to watch, because what would Greg do with the free-for-all win? So for him to be that close and to, you know, not sneak in a win, that would have been fantastic for me.
Yeah, I don't actually remember Greg being at that table. So I think that's definitely it, because
I just looked at it, I said, oh my gosh, Greg could win this. This is scary.
I think once you focus in on some of like the crazy people at the table still, when that last round was happening, you forget that like Greg was there still hanging on. But no, he did very, very well for the last couple rounds that he was in. We're going to move along. And Chris, you're the last one to talk about this. I don't think you were disappointed by much in this. Most of your favorites kind of lasted forever. So that's nice. But there might be one.
There was one. And Henry touched on it. You know, I wasn't disappointed, though, because Rob was there. He was having fun. And he lasted only that one round. But I want to tell you guys something. He lost pretty early in the second half. And he stayed until the end to wait for us to come out. And him and his girlfriend, Elizabeth, they're fantastic people. So, I mean, I'm not disappointed with that. What I am, it's hard to say disappointed because I'm not really disappointed in a lot of stuff here. I would say the thing that took me the most off guard is that the last round didn't go down to elimination. It was only the fact that the last winner of that last table was the winner. I feel like it would have probably added more dynamic if you kept going down the elimination. And one by one would be picked up, and then maybe you would have a different winner. But that's not to say I'm disappointed in Brienne losing it whatsoever. She deserved it, and it is amazing that she won. I just wish that it was a little bit more climactic, just for television purposes. But I would say, if you put a gun to my head, I would say actually, I feel like Whitney had a lot of potential to go even further, and I feel like that him and Lon leaving, Lon too, I feel like there could have been, we could have seen more of them, and that's probably them two getting eliminated there at that turn. I would have liked to see them two at the table with Bibbs and seeing how that turned out. So we might have had a different story altogether. So, I mean, there's nothing really, in my opinion, that I'm quote-unquote disappointed about, but it's stuff that I feel like maybe in the future for the next free-for-all, like an elimination table for the last table, would do the climactic video justice.
Yeah, and I think that's fair because I know this is how it was supposed to have gone last year, and I know that's just the structure of the free-for-all, but it's something for them to look into for next year. Maybe it is something they want to do, is have it elimination style until the end, and I think that's fair. I mean, there were plenty of questions left. They could have. So that's not the problem at all, although that's an amazing amount of questions that they had for this event. I think it would have been less anticlimactic if people had expected it. And I don't think people expected it to be over when it was over. And so it just ended and we were just, what? So maybe that was part of it, but I do think that you're on to something with this and that it could help to keep things more climactic to the end. But you never know. Abe wants to let us all know that his suggestion for a climactic ending is to feature a fist fight, which we probably will never.
Brienne would have won anyways.
I was gonna say, did you see her entrance?
She's a slayer. She would have slayed them.
She did. She slayed. She was a queen. She slayed the whole competition. And also Dan and Aaliyah. We love Dan
and Taylor.
And also Taylor. I forgot about Taylor.
She's killing all the reactors. It's great for take 3. Oh man!
Yeah. Just keep. If you can kill late to the party too, that'd be great. I'm just joking.
Get those.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
I'm about to call Rob right now and tell him you said that.
They know him.
Oh, because you have a friend now. You're cool.
No, we love everyone, and it was really actually that was really cool to see people like Dan and Aaliyah actually get some time on the screen, because they're like, I don't think Aaliyah ever wants to compete, but it was cool to see her like get her chance to like be on the Schmoedown by being in that intro, because they like had so much fun prepping for that thing and actually getting to do it. So that I thought that was really cool. But our last topic we're going to go through is actually just final wrap-ups of the match itself, and then we'll talk about that end credit business. So the actual match itself, just, you know, is there anything that you didn't get a chance to say that you want to mention before we close this out? And how did you think as a whole this event did for closing out kind of the first quarter of the Schmoedown year? So we're going to start it off with Henry, the man himself. Let us know what your final thoughts are about the free-for-all.
So I kind of touched on my favorite entrance earlier with Brienne, but I also really liked Humphrey's entrance with that creepy mask and his little dance and move around thing. He definitely gave Brian Fernandez a run for his money with creepy mask. So that was a lot of fun. Also, my second favorite bait and switch, because obviously the number one was Guy and Dan, but my second favorite was when Whitney came out to Bibbs' song, because I thought Bibbs came out that early, but it ended up being Whitney, and that was pretty cool because he was just like, gotcha, it's really me. So that was really interesting. And my two favorite tables, the first one based on storyline was Bibiani, Robert Meyer Burnett, Roca, Ben Bateman, and then Ethan Irwin. Those five, that was an amazing table. Obviously the Ethan Bibbs thing, because that built up through the match, and then obviously Ben and Roca, and then Roca, R&B, and Bibbs. So all five of that was it was awesome to see. And then I think the best stacked table was McWeeny, Rachel Cushing, Mark Ellis, Mark and Draco, and Bibiani. So I think that was the best five, and that's the only way that McWeeny and Rachel were able to be eliminated, was because of how stacked that table was. So overall, I think it was amazing tournament of events, and I had a lot of fun.
Definitely. I'm glad you brought those up, because those were some stacked tables, like legit, like those were just as stacked as the first free-for-all's superpower table, which featured the infamous XX5XX. I mean, really, they were just crazy. We're going to move on to Chance. What are your kind of final thoughts about the match?
Overall, the free-for-all, I think Cody said it earlier, free-for-all is my favorite of all the events Collider does involving Schmoedown. I think it's a really fun, fast-paced match. I think it's always really entertaining. As far as my favorite table, I think my favorite table, hands down, has got to be the OT table. It was happened in part one. It was McWeeny, Whitney, Stacey Howard, Lon, and Sam Levine. Which, when that round started, I was like, Stacey's gone. And then when she like prevailed to me, I was like, oh wow, that was really nuts. And it's also the only time we've had an OT question in free for all, which I thought was really cool. So yeah, that's my final thoughts on that.
Definitely. Those are some good thoughts. And we're going to move on to Mike. What were your final thoughts about the free-for-all?
Something I didn't bring up, but Henry kind of brought it up, was Makuga and the Wild Bears. Makuga running around, and especially when Elliot gets eliminated, Makuga runs up to him, and they're just loud, boisterous. I love those guys. I hope they never separate as a team. They're amazing together. And I guess my favorite table was the last one, which mainly because anything could have happened there. Like you said, Greg, which people forgot he was even still at the table, could have easily have taken that, and that would have been a very interesting take. Or even Wendy could have taken it, which would have been amazing. But overall, I love the free fall. I hope they keep doing this each year.
100%. And I apologize to Greg that I forgot that you were at the final table. We love you at table. You're the best. All right, Chris. Yeah. All right, Chris, what were your final thoughts about the free-for-all?
What a magical match, magical day, magical weekend. If you want to say what my favorite table was, any table after round 20. Those were the best tables. And any round after rounds 9 through 18. So yeah, and, so look, I feel like any table with Whitney and any table with Bibbs were the most stacked tables ever. My favorite table was the one where it was Bibbs and Robert Meyer Burnett. Henry, you stole that from me, so F you. But it is what it is. I feel like it's just the whole atmosphere of the match and sitting inside of the match, and the fact that Bibbs lasted 21 rounds. It was just such a great told you so experience, and I am gloating about it, and I do not care because, hey, none of your favorite competitors can do what Bibbs did that day. And unless somebody can, if you think Dan Mill can last 21 rounds, I don't know, but he's not in the competition. So you guys have no idea how proud and how prideful I am. This entire match was amazing. Brienne winning was fantastic, and I just can't wait to see what the next free-for-all holds and the stories that is going to supersede this. This year is just going to be so good, and me and Abe are set with fantasy. Let's just put it bluntly, we are set with fantasy.
And with that, the fantasy update has been canceled. It's moving forward. Matt, what was your final thoughts on the match?
There's a way to set up for the final thoughts for me. It was so much fun. Just stuff that I didn't get to say. Hal Brudnick was hilarious, as he always is with Schmoedown stuff. And also, Hal is, one of the nicest guys ever. I got to talk to him backstage, and he was so, cool. Also, the audience mic picked up a lot more than I thought it was going to. I love the fact that you could hear Makuga and Tom's sides just so much, because they were literally just standing to the side, just making comments at every news. It was fantastic. Overall, I thought this superseded last year's free-for-all. I thought the more competitors led to I found a lot of interesting table combinations. I think, my favorite table, okay. I'll say my favorite table is when Riley came on, because, at least for me and Clark, when Riley came out, me and Clark kind of had a look of all right, for right now, this is the closest we're going to get to Riley versus Bibbs. It's the closest we're ever going to get.
And so did it not show you? It showed you.
I'm sorry. 2 belts didn't win free-for-all. I'm sorry, Clark. So that was a fun thing for me and Clark. But, free-for-all 2 was fantastic.
100%. The crowd mic, I think, was hilarious. There were a lot of things where I'm just like, man, I was really excited about that Con Air question.
Yeah, everyone was.
I was so
Yeah.
We were
If
set.
you listen closely to when Robert Meyer Burnett comes out, and you listen faintly,
Yeah,
you could hear me say, "What the actual fuck?"
You can
screamed.
also going with that. You can also hear when Riley's leaving. I start trying to get the Yodi chant going again, and it's literally just me.
you?
But the
Oh,
quack,
just you?
the quack is my favorite. Me and Kristen. That's
The
our
quack,
moment. Is we start the quack.
Yeah, there's like one really loud person when someone gets, I can't remember, it might have been Lon who got the answer first for Con Air, and there's one person who literally just screams real loud, and that's totally me. Con Air is a cinematic classic. All right, last but not least, Malcolm, let us know your closing thoughts on the free-for-all.
Well, I mean, like in closing thoughts, like it was just really. I mean, I loved when Bibbs was at tape. Was like he was starting chants, like he was chanting for RB3. I think he started the Natalie chant, and the crowd joined in. So, I mean, I love that fact that a lot of the tables had people getting rid of former rivals, like you had Bibbs taking out JTE and Draco, and you had like Vanessa taking out, I think it was either Ben or Andrew out with her as she went. So I mean, but yeah, you lots of moments in which people took out former rivals as well, which was even fun. So
Yeah, and for me, just the free-for-all in general is such a fun event, and there's so much that can happen, and it's always a surprise. No matter what you're expecting, you never actually expect what happens in the free-for-all. I don't think anyone could have called how it ended. I don't think anyone could have called, who got the longest rounds, except for maybe Clark, but he doesn't count because he was there. And, just in general, it's just a fun event. And, I don't think there's anything else I can say that hasn't already been said, other than I'm just really glad I got to watch this thing live, and it's seriously just so much fun to even just watch on YouTube. Like, sitting down and watching it this morning was so much fun for me. But we are going to move on. There's one last thing we have to talk about. We're going to shoot it to Henry first, just in case he has to leave before we close out. And this is that post-credit scene. So whatever happens in that post-credit scene, there's a lot of question marks going on. But basically, Brienne out-thatted Thad, which is it's about as crazy as it can get. So, Henry, why don't you give us your final thoughts? And just in case you do have to drop, you can also give your plug for all of your online things and some of your trivia stuff.
So yeah, that was interesting. If you watch the reaction on take 3, you hear me yelling the whole time, he's not reading it. He's not reading it. He's not reading it. Thad, what are you doing? You're not reading it. And not only was he not reading what was actually on the page, I didn't realize there was a back either. So that was even worse. And oh my God, she's so sneaky. You think she's smart with her entrances, but she's smart with everything. Brienne is amazing, and I don't know what this is. I don't know if this is a evil heel turn. I don't know if she's trying to be like, I don't know what she's doing, but she's got something under her. I don't know. I'm speechless, and I'm impressed though that she was able, like you said, out that. And that sometimes when you get a pretty face, you're like, yeah, sure, I'll say whatever you want. She took advantage of that. That was just like, I got shysted. So that was hilarious. I'm nervous for the league, but I have faith in Brienne that maybe this could be more for her than for Dagnito, and she might be using Dagnito as a force to, I don't know what she's got planned, but I'm very intrigued, and I'm trusting the process. I think that this is going to be interesting and entertaining for us all, and there might be some deaths. So Infinity War has nothing on what Dagnito is going to do for a week. So
Definitely. Don't forget to plug yourself, just so we know
I'll
where
stay
we
till
can
the
find
end.
you.
I like you guys.
Oh, okay, perfect. Well, then never mind. Forget I mentioned any of that. All right. So just on that.
Wait a minute.
post-credit
Henry, are you okay? Is everything good?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I got 20 minutes at least. So
Okay.
scene.
I
Oh,
really
that's
needed
fine.
to.
I'm not okay.
Abe's like, I wanted Henry to leave. I thought I was going to be
All right.
out.
Okay, so Matt, what were your thoughts on the post-credit scene between Brienne and Thad?
Ah, boy, did I love this, because here's the thing. I remember when Blofeld's Cat vs. Nerds Watch happened. Brian Chandler put a comment on YouTube that said, I have a contract for Thad, and it's in between my fingers. Finally, this guy with these contracts, this guy who won't play Harloff for the commissioner spot, this guy who put poor Rachel Cushing in that position, who took Andrew Guy and put him in prison, finally got his comeuppance with a contract. I mean, what guy who writes out these contracts doesn't read a contract when he's signing it? So you know what? Dagnino would probably read the contract, and I hope we get all these Patreons. That way we can finally get a good commissioner since Harloff. Seriously, it was so hilarious, and it just, the way Brienne played it was so perfect. Of just like, now do you want like a double-sided copy, or do you want to? And he was just like, well, what? And it was perfect. I loved this post-credit scene. It was the perfect way to. I'm glad that they put it on free-for-all and didn't add it to one of the matches like this week. I'm glad, because I thought it was like, that's the perfect way to end the free-for-all of it. It's just like, with Brienne winning, and with like, who knows what she's going to do with the win, but this is something she's got planned.
Yeah, it was very devious, and I liked it a lot. Mike, what were your thoughts on the post-credit scene?
I loved it. I think that with this, Dagnino and Brienne are going to turn this whole league upside down. There are things coming, and Thad messed up royally by not reading that contract all the way through.
Yeah, 100%. For a guy who loves contracts as much as he loves, him not reading it is just sweet, sweet justice. So, Cody, what were your thoughts on this Thad Brienne scene?
I think it's awesome. I feel bad for Sam Levine, though, because he's going to have a fatal five-way between JTE, Snyder, Ken Knapsack, and Dagnino. So that's going to be an interesting match, probably. And he's probably going to create a belt for himself. So it's going to be a great for the Lions Den. But, yeah, I've said it from day one. I dislike Thad, not as a person, but as a commissioner. I want Harloff back. So I'm just waiting for this to be his disapproval rating to go down. So then Christian can take over. But yeah, Dagnino's going to take over this league for at least the 1 week, and it's going to be a crazy 2 matches. And whatever he books in the future. Because he can book whatever he'd like for as long as he'd like. So everybody better watch out for their titles.
Yeah, if you don't have anyone from the Lions Den in your fantasy pool, you might want to pick some of them up before Tom takes over, because I have a feeling he's going to make things real interesting. That's all I can say. So, Malcolm, what were your thoughts about this scene?
Yeah, well, this was a fun scene because it showed how much of an idiot Fag can be at times. It's like, I mean, who signs a contract without going, oh, I'll take it to my lawyers and have them look over it and for any hidden clauses? Like, who signs a contract right on the spot like that? But I mean, I think personally this scene, it was done as a way to get more Patreons as well, because I mean, like, that's the main clause in there, is like that if when the Patreons get to 21,000, then that's when Tom becomes commissioner for it. So expect Patreon subscribers to skyrocket through the year. But the other thing is, what else is in the contract that wasn't mentioned? Because if you look on the back page, there's a whole page. It's really hard to believe that the whole thing is about Tom being commissioner for a week. So there's probably other hidden things that will be revealed later on as well. So
Yeah, and let's clarify. 2100, 21,000. We would never get this if it was 21,000. And that being said, there are about 470 Patreon spots left before this can happen. So if you do want this to happen, then definitely, if you're not a patron yet, even $1 counts. That's all I'm saying. You give $1 a month for a year, it's $12. It's not that bad.
I wonder if they're going to lose people because.
Yeah, I was going to say, what if people start unpatreoning?
I would hope that that's not going to happen.
I don't want Jack Nito anywhere near them.
I'm taking my $10 back.
Ooh, I can't believe Tom's going to be the thing. I think actually, John probably will sign up for his own at this point if Tom gets to have a spot as commissioner.
John's like, Tom's going to be fish? I'm going to be no.
We'll have our whole. He'll sign the dogs up for their own too.
Pay it out.
Like everything in our house will have its own Patreon account by the end of the week. So we're gonna move on to Chance. What did you think about this end credit scene?
This was really interesting because last year's Spectacular, we had the whole thing of what's her face, Brienne leaving the Viper Squad to join Kalinowski with the league. So I was under the impression that like she was going to the good side, and then she pulls this stunt, and God, as disastrous as it probably be for the league in general, I really hope we get 2,100 patrons, just because I want to see what kind of crazy crap Dagnino would play if he became commissioner. Which I mean, we're what, like 400 and change away from actually hitting that.
Yeah.
For about 470 at the time of recording.
470. Okay, so yeah, we're getting close, and this league is gonna turn this league's gonna turn nuts if that actually does happen. And I, for one, cannot wait to see it actually come to fruition.
Definitely. And
also, I gotta say, it was great seeing Thad get out-thatted.
Yes, and I love that Thad is now becoming its own verb. That's making me very happy about life. Chris, last but not least, what did you think about this post-credit scene?
Well, you gotta look at it like this. It's great that Thad got outsmarted. It was just such a good piece of theater, and I feel like any excuse to get more patrons, I feel like the cutscenes never really focused on that, and I feel like this is a very smart marketing move for Brienne, because I'm curious to see what the after credit scene would have been had she not won, because I feel like this should have happened anyway. Like, I feel like something like this was boiling up anyway with Brienne and Mike, so I feel like the whole Patreon thing is fantastic with having Dagnito. I don't think it's going to lose any subscribers. If anything, they're going to get a huge influx because, like, look, Dagnito is not replacing Harloff. He's replacing Thad. That's two separate things. If it was replacing Harloff, then I could see your argument. But Harloff's not the commissioner right now. So I feel like anything to forward the story is a positive. And to put this into perspective with the Patreon, that's gonna blow everything out of the water. And I feel like we're just in for a roller coaster, because if he does become commissioner, you could get not 2 matches, but as Matt said in our chat, so not taking his idea, you could get 20 matches a week. You could get something crazy. Things could get chaotic and things could get destroyed. And you know what? When you go to Idaho, you need to get the best potatoes. And I feel like we're gonna get a good thing here.
Yeah. Why does everyone think that Tom is going to conform to Harloff and Thad's way being commissioner? I mean, it's Tom, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And on top of that,
Bruce Campbell will probably come back when Tom's commissioner.
I mean,
Please God, let that happen.
Yeah.
He's so
What if
amazing.
that
He's
does
gonna put the
happen, like
Schmoedown
Bruce
in
Campbell?
debt.
I want that postcard scene where it's like Bruce Campbell like looks and it's like Tom Skamish, I'm coming back.
That Jack Nicholson impersonation is probably my favorite Schmoedown moment in history. That was amazing. Bruce.
That was pretty good. My thoughts on this are actually summed up, and Christian actually just posted it on the Facebook page pretty recently. So he posted the Patreon goal that Brienne set has a lot more to do with story implications and some other stuff than just one particular person getting the chair for a week. And that's kind of where I'm coming from this, is that they wouldn't put this in there unless they had some big stuff planned. Like, this is like the beginning of like a big storyline. You have to know that. And whatever they have planned is going to be mind blowing, because this is something that like they are planning. Like, they don't just like, plan big storylines unless they know that people are going to go crazy after it's done. So I honestly, I don't know how long it's going to take for 400 more people to sign up for the Patreon, but this has to happen. I need this. I need to see it. I need to know what's going on. This could be one of the craziest things we've ever seen on the Schmoedown, outside of just the fact that Tom is going to make everything chaos, and I will love every second of it. It's just going to be amazing. Like, honestly, I don't think we even can begin to understand how crazy this thing is going to be once this hits.
Where's the Sean Bean like meme where it's like, one does not simply know what will happen when Dagnito's commish?
Definitely. No, seriously. Like, that's exactly what it is. We don't know what's going to happen. This is just like unimaginable. Anything could go down. So that's it for the summit. So if you haven't had a chance yet and you do have a couple extra dollars lying around and you want to sub to the Patreon, feel free. It's real easy to do. No pressure, but honestly, they count $1. So if you have an extra $1 a month, like, do it, dude. It's not even bad to sign up for $1. Like, there's plenty of Patreon accounts I'm on that are for $1. And if you can't do that, that's fine too. Just make sure that you're supporting the Schmoedown in other ways by like liking the video and all that junk they say to do it every single episode. So we're going to go through and figure out where we can find everyone on the panel. So Matt Kearns, where can we find you on the internet?
You guys can find me on Twitter at current_Matthew. You can find me on YouTube, MattMovie611. You can find me right here hosting Second Look, which now airs Sundays. Next month, we're going to have a new addition to Second Look, so look out to that. I also host Throwback Thursday trailer reactions, which pretty much specifically, it's in the name. I watch an old trailer, and I'm also the former Fancy Update host here, but my roommate has taken over, so you probably have enjoyed that, or maybe you haven't. He doesn't care. And you can find my roommate Vinny at Vinny Stallone 76 on Twitter.
There you go. And we forgot to do fantasy. We'll just tack it on to the end of the video.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that.
It's fine. Nothing changed at all. 0% things changed this week, of course.
But I mean, we gotta do the lead-in.
Yeah. All right. And Cody, where can we find you on the internet?
Just Cody Newberry on Facebook. I don't do really any of the social media, but yeah, just follow me there. I kind of bounce in between. I'm on some Full Metal stuff. I do the Full Metal 5 with Chance every once in a while. So check out their channel. They do great stuff over there. So.
And speaking of Chance, let's find out where we can find him.
Lots of stuff. You can find me on Facebook, Chance Ellison, Twitter, Instagram at ChanceWars91. Check out Full Metal Media. It's a YouTube channel I help found, and also check out my own YouTube channel at Chance the Critic.
And we're actually going to throw it over to our dear friend Abe the editor. Where can we find you, Abe?
You can find me on Twitter at AbrahamF25.
Good.
And that's it.
That's it.
Perfect.
I just want followers.
Yeah, go follow Abe. He's a cool guy. He burns dollars and stuff.
He burns dollars he could be given to the Patreon.
Yeah, Abe, come on, man. All right, so Malcolm, where can we find you on the internet, my friend?
You can find me on Twitter, Letterboxd, and Stardust at Malcor. You can find my own personal Malcolm's Middle Earth Media. I do various trivia things on and worldwide movie games, and I'm very thankful for these.
All right, I hope you're done talking because you cut out. We're going to swing it over to you, Henry. Where can we find you?
You can find me at Letterboxd and YouTube at Henry Confidential with a space, Instagram Henry Confidential no space, and on Twitter Henry or H double underscore, so underscore confidential, and then any future things on Facebook and other YouTube channels that's TBD right now. I will let time take its course and let you guys desire me as much as you need to. So TBD.
Perfect. If you want to see more of Henry, apparently you just need to desire that. That's really awkward.
Express your desire.
Express your desire. You can express your desires on his Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, or Stardust.
Which I plugged a second ago.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Mike, where can we find you?
And you can find me on Twitter at Mike Hanley 1987 and competing on Worldwide Movie Games on There Will Be Trivia.
That's short and sweet.
Yeah.
Not crazy like all the rest of ours. We're going to get to one crazy person. Chris, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChrisClark8788. Those numbers mean nothing. You can find me every Wednesday hosting Suddenly Soundtracks. This week we are going through The Hunchback of Notre Dame with Chris Skaliski, who wrote over 400 questions for this Schmoedown. 400. And out of the 90 categories that were in the actual Schmoedown, a lot of which were added as new categories like monster movies and such, 86 of them appeared. So we have to give huge props to Chris Skaliski. And you can also find me on every Saturday producing the Schmoedown Rundown. We just had a live show that we were going through the free-for-all yesterday, so make sure you check that out. Also, make sure to check out our Schmoedown Reflection going up, or should be up by now, where it's me, Kristen, and Matt, and a bunch of our Reactor friends talking about our experience at Free For All and getting some genuine on-location reactions. It's a huge video, so make sure you check that out. I will give Abe the thumbnail to put up here as I am speaking, so even more editing for Abe.
I won't put it.
Okay. Abe won't put it, so it's all good. And you can also find me on YouTube at No Man's Land Entertainment. Bada bing, bada boom, boom, boom. Bada boom. Bada boom.
Boom. Hashtag bada boom. All right. And as always, you can find me at Smith_K10, the number, not the word, at Stardust, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also find me right here on Take 3, of course, hosting the summit, which you're watching. So if you don't know that I host that, then I don't know.
What are you doing?
I don't even know what to tell you anymore. You can also find me on various other things on Take 3, the reactions, or family game night or whatever. And last but not least, we just want to thank Abe for all his hard work doing all the editing. Throw in some dancing corgis again, or maybe this time you can do like dancing pugs. I don't know. We'll make it hard on you. And before we do close out, we just want to throw it over to Matt, or perhaps his closet roommate Vinny, to do the fantasy update. I've been dreading this thing because, man, those
You might not be in
those
first.
free-for-all that's going to be a disappointing time for me. But we do want to end with that fantasy update, and please, let me be in first. But with that, we do want to thank you guys all for watching this, and we hope that you all have a wonderful time, and we just hope that you all take care.
I like well done steak.
Fuck you, Rob.
Yo, what's up? It's Vinny here for the Day 3 fantasy updates, and the freaking website they didn't want to update, so I guess no updates. I'm assuming the free for all was this week, so I'm assuming whoever got BBI got a lot of points. I think they said the Penguin dude, with the face. I bet she's got a lot of points. But yeah, no points, no nothing. I don't know nothing. The freaking website didn't want to update. But so that's it. This is Vinny for your Take 3 Fantasy Updates. You can follow me on Twitter at VinnyStallone76. Okay, all right. Yeah, I don't know. Update the website.